How long does your hair get, David? That's a great way to start the class, Rashi. Thanks for that question. It kind of gets this long and then that's it. uh, I was thinking since we're all so socially isolated, just to start class today, if we wanted to, if you're here live, why don't we all just put our videos on for a moment so that you could see who else is in here, that you're not alone. So go ahead and click video on. I'll unmute everyone just for a moment. If there's any noise in the background where you are and you're moving your mic around and stuff, mute yourself. But I'll unmute everybody just for a moment, just so you can say hi. And at the top right of your Zoom screen, you can choose gallery view or speaker view, so you can just see everyone together at once or just the person talking. Okay, so if you haven't done that before, so I'm going to unmute everybody. Here we go. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So good to see you all. Say hi to each other. You just kind of like the Brady Bunch.
Hello.
Hey, hi.
Hello.
Hi. Love me. Oh, there's 2 pages worth, so you have to scroll. You might have to scroll through to see you.
I can't
Wonderful.
scroll.
Yeah, there's like a left and a right button. You can move around. How is everybody?
Wow.
Wild
Oh, now I
times.
can do it.
Yay! Hey, doggy.
It's the dog.
That dog takes every class I teach now. You must have a lifetime membership.
Video.
So good to be with you all. I've been reading this lovely book. If anybody needs some good poetry while you're socially isolated, Pablo Neruda, he's a beautiful poet. It's both in Spanish and in English. So I read the Spanish side, even though I don't understand it, and then I read the English side. Makes me feel smarter. And this one is called Residence on Earth. So anyway, that's been going nice for me. And some of you have been messaging me asking what books are behind me. So since you're here live, I'll show you and tell you. Let's see, we've got, I'll just share some of them. The Gift from Hafiz. We've got the Bhagavad Gita, poetry by Robert Frost, Aware by Daniel Siegel, Rabindranath Tagore. He's a wonderful Indian poet. Factfulness, The Artist's Journey by Stephen Pressfield's really nice. And then down here, The Way of Grace. She was on my podcast, Miranda McPherson. Lovely. Let's see, The Mustard Seed. And he was supposed to be on my podcast and just kept scheduling. It wasn't working out. Hopefully we'll get him on there. His name is Irvin Laszlo. He's pretty amazing. Nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, so that's what I got on there. Honestly, usually a lot of my good books I don't have anymore because I give them away. So, but no, those are good. Those are good too, I think. Anyway, cool. So tonight's class is called Deepening into Truth, big topic. And I also mentioned that I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about dealing with isolation, maybe some loneliness. Anyone experiencing any of that isolation feeling? Yeah. And by the way, if you're here, you just came in, you don't have to have your video on, don't worry, and you can mute yourself if there's any noise. For a few minutes, I'll leave us unmuted and then I'll mute us. So in terms of the social isolation, you might be with just a small group of people or by yourself. I think as hard as that is, it's also an amazing opportunity to be able to just spend a lot of time sitting with yourself and meditating. There may never be another opportunity like this in your life where you're just home and literally society isn't letting you out, right? So this might be a chance of a lifetime. Maybe a couple people get enlightened during this quarantine and it changes the course of history. Who knows, right? Usually incredible things come out of great tragedies. My parents, then I came out of, World War II and the Holocaust, as horrible as it was. I think there's always something that can be born out of tragedy. And I think that doesn't really matter what I think. Doesn't really matter what I think actually, but other than I think it's a good opportunity to spend some more time meditating and working some of your stuff out from the inside out, which is why we're here. This is what we're here to do. So if you've been trying to meditate, but you've been at home kind of lazy, or like, oh, every time I close my eyes, I fall asleep, or I get hungry, or I check the Instagram, or I just got something else to do. Anyone experience that? It's like, oh, I can't, I'm trying, I can't. That's why we come here to do this work together, so that we can really start to shift our energy. Sometimes it takes a little prompting, like we just need a little push, a little invitation to sit still and look inside, and some instruction to help work some energy. So that's why we're here, and hopefully to have a little bit of fun along the way as well. So to start our fun, I'm going to meet you guys off for a minute. To start some of our fun, I wanted to share this interesting story, and I have to be as vague as possible about it. But a friend of mine gave a celebrity friend of his a book once called The Power of Now, and the person never this is what happened. The person walked around saying to their staff, I want everything now, pointing to the cover of the book, like, give it to me now. Where is my shit right now? And turned out they never opened the book and read it, and they thought that the book was about you're supposed to get whatever you want right now. I think that is just a hilarious story, and the ultimate, like, I don't know, shallow opposite upside down world of what that book is. I want it right now. Because I read that book when I was 16 and it totally changed my life. When I heard that story, I wish I could tell you who it is, but I never will be able to. So don't even bother asking me. Um, so right now you're probably experiencing, some anxiety, some fear, some heaviness. Oh, I would I would guess a fluctuation of emotion every day. Some grief. It's hard not to feel some grief for humanity at the moment. What's going on? I have some spiritual friends who are like, this is a great thing that's happening because, it forces us all into awakening. And yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Like I said, it is an opportunity, but it is also a pretty crappy time, that so many people are suffering. And I think that those two things can both be true at the same time. And when we're deepening into truth, we don't get to color it with what we want it to be. We don't get to color it with our beliefs or what we hope it should be. If we're really interested in the truth with like a big T, then we have to really look at things as they are and see through all of our filters and all of our own beliefs, our own past judgments, and all of the stuff that kind of comes in front of our windshield as we look out into the world. And nobody thinks that their point of view is colored. Everybody thinks that they think the right thing. That's why you think what you think, right? Otherwise, you'd have a different opinion. So getting close to the truth is actually kind of a tricky endeavor because we're kind of negotiating with ourselves, aren't we? And I want to be clear that the truth and being honest are not necessarily the same thing. And what I mean by that is you might say, well, I told that person the truth. I told them exactly how they made me feel and what they did. That's not the truth. The truth is beyond that. The truth that I'm talking about is something that we touch when we're deep in meditation with our eyes closed, when we let go of all of our beliefs, when we let go of the world, and we just let things be as they are without trying to change them in any way. And that's a really tricky thing to do, isn't it? To not do anything is a really tricky thing to do. So every moment that we experience in meditation, usually we're trying to kind of manipulate it a little bit. We're shading it in with some kind of label or some kind of judgment. We start shading something in, and we rarely let things be as they are. And that includes all of the kind of shitty thoughts that go through our head or the feelings that hurt that go through our body. Immediately we want to change them or fix them or manipulate them. And we rarely just let things just be as they are. And the reason for that is because we don't like pain, right? And when we sit still, what tends to rise to the surface? Anxiety, fear, doubt, confusion, resistance. All of these things start rising to the surface, and then we don't know what to do with them. And then it's like, I don't like meditating. This just hurts. But that stuff is there anyway. You're just overriding it throughout the day. You're distracting yourself, right? So really being present and letting that stuff rise to the surface and seeing it for what it is, that's still not the truth. That's kind of what maybe has been in the way of you really seeing what's underneath it, what's even deeper than that. So if somebody's suffering from anxiety and they're like, David, I got messages like that today. I suffer from anxiety. What do I do? That might be one of your doorways to the truth. That might be something you have to really look at closely, see what happens with it, sit with it. Maybe it will turn into rage, and then that rage will turn into sadness, and then sadness will turn into deep grief, and it'll have nothing to do with what you were anxious about. And then after that deep grief fades, then all of a sudden maybe you're left with a silence and a deep inner peace and a stillness. Has anyone been through a process like that before? Just all of the layers kind of coming out. But we can't hold our bodies hostage and our heads hostage into silence and force it. It's not, it doesn't quite work like that. So we have to let things pass. Maybe the silence and the stillness doesn't happen for a while. Even the desire for it to happen can be in the way. The desire for us to get enlightenment could be in the way of finding our own enlightenment. And it almost always is. So when we meditate, perhaps one of the questions that you can ask yourself is, can I really let this be as it is? Can I let this moment and this experience be as it is without trying to change it? And if you could sit with that, then life might start really coming through and showing you something. And I don't want to color what that will be or what the experience will look like. You know, and usually, not always, but very often when something in us breaks, when death happens, when heartbreak happens, uh, those moments, they tend to open us up. Rarely does someone succeed at life in something and they're like, oh, I made $10 million and everything worked out perfectly. And then just like enlightenment lands, right? You don't hear that too much. It's usually when we fail, right? So success doesn't lead to enlightenment. Usually failure leads to enlightenment. Lots and lots of failure. You might have to fail your way all the way to enlightenment. Or you might have to have your heart broken open again and again and again until you finally let it just be like that, and then your soul starts to shine through. So if you can sit with that and let whatever's breaking or ending just peel off of you and happen, then who knows what will be underneath that? I don't know. I don't know what will be underneath that for you. And the other thing about the truth is it kind of shows up whenever it wants to. it's not like you get an A on a test and then God says, "Here's the truth. Fine, you got it. You've been punished enough. Here it is." I don't think it works that way. I think it's much more mysterious. Um, I spent so many hours, countless hours meditating, and like, where's the truth? Where's the truth? Give it to me. I filled out all the paperwork at the ashram. How much money do I need to donate? Oh, wait, I don't have any. Is there another way? And then one day I remember sitting at a restaurant with a group of friends talking about some random topic. And maybe I shared the story once before somewhere. But I had a buddy from Arkansas, real thick Southern accent, great, great looking guy, really sweet-hearted guy. And he was just saying something. He's like, David, when he was like talking about, I don't know what he was talking about, cars or politics or something. And all of a sudden, I just couldn't hear him speak anymore. I'm sitting at this dinner table in this loud restaurant, and I just like looked right into one of his eyes, and it was like I could see the entire universe all at once. And it was like time just stopped. It's like time just stopped. And I really don't know how long that lasted. In space and time, maybe it lasted, 10 or 20 or 30 seconds. But in whatever other dimension, it was like an eternity. And then I came back and I was like, whoa, now that's the truth. I wanted to keep it and hold it, which is a question that always arises. How do I found these beautiful, blissful moments of oneness and stillness. How do I keep them and hold them and have it permanent? I don't know. I don't know if you can. That grasping in and of itself might be keeping it away. So on one hand, we meditate as much as we can and we do the work as much as we can and we work through pain and we let life break us open. And at the same time, we have to have the attitude that we have no control over what the truth is or when it comes or how it arises. We can't put it in a package or label it in any one specific way and say, this is it. This is it. Even in India, where I used to study Vedanta, which is it's kind of like Zen. We would call it a non-dual teaching where it's all about everything is one, that nothing exists, everything is an illusion. You could put it a few different ways. But I would notice that the people I was studying with, that they would hold on to those concepts so strongly that became their new like religion, their new God. So nothing is real and everything is an illusion became something that they were trying to hold on to. And that was fascinating to me. That was really fascinating. When I got my degree in philosophy, I could see all these very smart people, me included, not one of the smart people, just one of the students. But I was there. I was in the room with the smart people and holding on to concepts. Um, as Alan Watts, the meditation teacher, would say, it's like trying to hold on to a belief like that is like trying to grab onto a rock while you're both falling through the sky. And so we get caught trying to hold on to our beliefs for safety and for grounding. And the truth isn't a belief. It's not any belief. It's not any belief. The idea that the truth is a belief would mean that the truth is an idea. And when we sit and meditate, even our ideas eventually dissipate and disappear. And then we see what's left. So being a good meditator means being able to listen to silence, being okay with when there's a lot of noise moving through your mind and not labeling it and judging it and trying to wrestle it to the ground and figure it out. And really letting yourself just witness whatever you're experiencing. And those teachings, they seem very simple, and they are, and that's what makes them really hard, is that they're so simple, because we want it to be more complicated. We want to figure it out. So I invite you tonight as we meditate to see if you could just kind of let go of whatever you think this is supposed to be. It's not like I'm a better meditator than you. There's not like a meditation Olympics. Who could still the most. That's not what it is. There is no someone being better than somebody else at something like this, because it's really you getting in touch with the truth inside yourself. Nobody can be better at that than you. And the truth shows up when it wants to. And so I don't care if this is your first day of meditation school and second day of ever meditating, and somebody else has been doing it for 20 years. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. The first time I ever read The Power of Now, I was 16 years old. I had this incredible kind of what you might call like awakening moment, and all the thoughts in my mind just subsided for quite a while. And I didn't earn that. I didn't meditate for years to get to that place. In fact, I spent years trying to figure out what that was. So go easy on yourself. Let yourself be in almost a state of innocence and playfulness, and just see what opens up for you. Cool. So before we go into meditation, if you have any questions about that or anything you want to share, you're welcome to just write in the box. And I would prefer if you were sitting up while we meditate, because if you lay down, you'll just take a nap of some kind. Unless you have back issues, of course, it's okay. Yeah, some people wrote to me privately, and there's some hardship out in the world right now, for sure. So, like I said, if that's what you're experiencing, let it open you up. That's okay. Usually, it's not until there's some hardship that we start asking the deepest questions, right? So, all right, no questions.